Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Hump Day. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome all listeners to Wednesday, where make it so that Wednesday is that day where your boss secretly wonders if you're a superhero.
No, I'm taking the day off. Set that expectation bar real low. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought.
Well, why don't we jump right into the stories while I enjoy my morning kebab.
What are you going to enjoy today?
Raspberry zinger.
Delicious. The zinger bar actually has some hibiscus.
Oh my, this is dangerous. This is probably my favorite drink now.
Thai hibiscus. It has orange peels. Well, while you go ahead and enjoy that, let me go ahead and get us started with these stories. But for any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for making my husband take the day off with our sick kid instead of me? Kiddo came home with pink eye last night. Husband didn't notice when he picked her up, but by the time I got home it was obvious. I immediately went and got her the required drops to clear it up. Per our health unit rules, she has to have been on drops for 24 hours and have no eye goop before returning to school. So someone has to stay home today. At best, she returns tomorrow. We asked everyone, 6 different family/friends. No one is available, so one of us has to stay home. Here are the facts. I work in healthcare. I have a full schedule of patients today. I am only in this clinic once a week, so rescheduling my day is challenging. There is no one to cover. These patients would have to wait at least another week to see me. He works in a warehouse and delivers building materials for contractors, builders, and homeowners. There are deliveries scheduled, but he didn't say anything was urgent. I have sick days and personal days remaining. He does not get sick days, but could move a vacation day. I am salaried and the breadwinner. He works hourly and will lose a day's pay, but he is working an extra day this week, so it will balance out. He will, however, lose the extra day in overtime. I have already said that I will stay home tomorrow if needed, even though it would mean rescheduling a bunch more patients. But it's a clinic. I'm in 4 days a week, so rescheduling it's a lot easier. Am I the a-hole for making him take the day off unpaid? Edited to add info down thread. Thanks to the user who curated this. Missing info people. He assumed I would volunteer to take the day off and is a bit pissed about having to take the day off. There is also an underlying element of mother being the default parent here that I'm constantly up against. He is mad about missing out on overtime. I have already committed to taking tomorrow off, and I have already taken 2 other days off when kiddo was sick. He has not. Am I the a-hole?
Okay, so that last update kind of clarified some things before we even get this going. It kind of sounds like there definitely needs to be some communication between the two of them, because you can already hear from her perspective that she's putting in more of the parental stuff than he is. That's the problem. Before we even go into who takes the days off or not, and I guess for her, she said she's already taken 2 days off already when she's been sick, when the child has been sick, and he hasn't.
Correct.
That one you guys need to start talking about and getting some equal share going on because that'll start a rift real fast. I guess I'll go into this one saying I don't believe that you are the a-hole, OP. You say it yourself, you work in the healthcare industry. You'd have to reschedule. Did she give a number? I thought it was like 4 or 5 appointments just for that day.
No, she didn't give the actual number of appointments, but everybody that would have been for that day, she'd have to reschedule
because there's no one else
another week.
having her back on that
Correct.
shift. And your husband works in a warehouse. It kind of sounds like, in her words, it's not as urgent. He wouldn't have to go through the hoops she would to have to reschedule. Again, she's already done this in the past, at least twice within last year. I'm assuming that's how her timeline's working in this story, and he hasn't. You have to also put in the time too. It's your kid as well. I'm not sure what the dynamics are, or if that's a stepchild to him, if that's why he's acting as, hey, that's your kid, you deal with it kind of situation. I hope. I mean, in either way, it's wrong. Even if it's not his biological or not, you should not be acting like that, especially when you're sharing a life together. So yeah, I definitely don't think you're the a-hole, OP. You guys definitely need to start talking about the expectations and understanding each other and what you want from, especially when you're talking about the childcare situation, making it more equal.
Well, the consensus is that she's not the a-hole. And in fact, one commenter really started trying to paint a really negative light on the husband, and our OP actually came to his defense. Let me go ahead and read that out loud so that you can hear it. They said, I just couldn't, in good conscience, not speak up for him. He did, in the end, stay home with kiddo, made her feel better, and didn't complain or mention it once since I got home. Andy cooked dinner. I cleaned up after. We are a work in progress.
Good. There's no couple in the world that gets into a relationship that is fully ready for the relationship.
Or
you have to talk about it. It's not something you're given a guidebook on, right? You have to learn these situations through experience, and hopefully going forward, you make the better decisions. It sounds like he's a good husband and a good father. I don't think people need to be character assassinating off of him not wanting to take a day off.
Just sounds like lack of communication.
Yeah, that's all.
In the end, just because you're doing the right thing doesn't mean that you have to be so happy about it. You can be a little tiffed that the situation didn't go according to like your original plans. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what's happening with this family and their daughter's friends. For the next story, am I the a-hole for picking up my daughter's drunk friend? Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm in a bit of hot water at the minute regarding Kiara's parents. So my daughter, Kelsey, 22 female, and her best friend, Kiara, 21 female, have been going out a lot lately and partying, drinking, etc., since Kiara has just turned the legal age and she can go to clubs. All well and fun. I make sure my daughter knows what the risks are of drinking and going out and she doesn't party too hard. I let her know she can always call me if she needs to, and I'll pick them up under any circumstance. The same goes for all of her friends, and I make sure they at least have my contact in their phone. However, her best friend is a different story. I don't think she was ever given the talk about what's safe to do, and she regularly overdoes it. I see this when Kelsey brings Kiara to my house and she is very drunk. Usually, I'll get her a bottle of water, any snacks to sober up, and we send her back home to her parents to deal with the consequences. However, this time, my daughter lost Kiara in the club. I'm not sure how. Usually they're attached to the hip, but my daughter let me know she could not find her. My daughter left the club and came home without Kiara. I've talked to her about this. Kiara called me about half an hour later saying her battery died but found someone with a charger. Immediately, I left to pick her up. It was quite late and she sobered up somewhat on the drive, so I took her straight home. Today, Kiara's parents informed me that they no longer felt comfortable allowing her to be at my house. They did not realize she had my number and felt it was nature that I, a single dad, was alone with her while she had been drinking and took her home, that they did not know why I was alone with her at all and Kelsey should have been with us. I explained that my daughter was separated from her and came home. Because she was still drunk, I let her recover at home whilst I dropped their daughter off to them. I reassured them nothing happened and that the most important thing to me was making sure Kiara got home safely and was not taken advantage of in a taxi or by someone in the club. They are sending all kinds of messages to my ex-wife about me being a predator, which she sent to me. I just wanted to be sure both girls were home safe. Am I the a-hole?
Okay. This is spicy meatball time. I'll start off by saying I don't believe the OP is the a-hole. I think you're being a good parent. Now, you being the go-to for the drop-off pickup, every parent's different. I've seen parents go, I'm not going to be a part of that, but understand that these are the things, the risks you run, make the decisions you need to make, but I'm not going to be a part of your party life. I've also seen where parents are like, this OP, hey, at any moment in time, if you need me, I'm there. You and I would definitely be on the, please give us a call. If you're in a spot, if you're drinking and you need to get home, call us.
I will drop whatever I'm doing to make sure they get home safe.
That's just how we feel about that. So that story, those parents should be lucky that there's someone in their daughter's life that she trusts enough to come pick her up and drop her home safely, because there are plenty of kids that don't get back safely. So how would you be anything other than appreciative that someone's like that in your daughter's life? Is it only simply because he's a male? She wouldn't have called him if she didn't trust him. She is also 21. She's an adult. She can make her own decisions about who's in her life or not in her life, who gets to pick her up and who doesn't get to pick her up. So for you guys to go beyond that and attack him for just being a good person is ridiculous to me. I hope that Reddit gave him good advice. But see, this is where it gets funny. People want people to act chivalrous and be nice, but then when they are, they're treated like villains. Like there's some ulterior motive as to why they're just being a good human to that person. So yes, OP, I do not believe you are the a-hole.
Well, the consensus is also that he's not the a-hole. In fact, there was a lot of pretty heavy back and forth. And let me go ahead and sum up one conversation that the OP had with a commenter. This commenter came off almost accusing his daughter of intentionally leaving her friend at the club so that something like this could happen. It was a very odd conversation where he was trying to put the onus of fault onto our poster's daughter. Now, our poster said, look, a lot of things happened that night. They got separated. My daughter came home because her phone was dying and she just felt like she needed to get to me right away. And then we waited for the call because she tried finding her friend and it was not successful. Her friend actually got a portable charger and was able to use it from a stranger at the club so that they could actually just get in contact with our poster. Now, some commenters put, well, why is it that she didn't contact her parents? And he said they wouldn't have picked her up.
And that's where I believe that she trusted the father of her friend more than those two clowns. And I get it. They sound judgmental as hell.
And then on top of that, the back and forth continued until literally our poster said, the way in which you've taken this conversation doesn't even answer what I'm on here for. Essentially, stop attacking my daughter. These kids are still young. And they're still learning. And our poster said he's taught his daughter have a mentality of don't leave any man behind.
Yeah, that's like rule 1 of clubbing.
Every circumstance is different. And his daughter, to him, admitted that she's so drunk at that point that just getting home was difficult in itself after trying to find her friend in her drunken state.
When you're impaired, it's hard.
And that her dad deemed it to where she's so drunk to let her just stay home and recover just so that he can go ahead and pick up the pieces of whatever happened and to make sure everybody gets home safe.
And that's what this story is about. A dad wanting to make sure everyone got home safe.
Now, our poster actually added it and edited to add in his post. So let me go ahead and read that out loud. And they said, "Thank you for the advice, everyone. I didn't think this would gather so much support. Unfortunately, my ex-wife could not smooth this over, and I think I may have to pursue legal action because I have received more messages from friends of mine. I am going to stay away from Kira and my daughter's friends just to be safe and let them know what has happened. Thank you all."
What?
So what I'm guessing is happening is these parents are going around to all of the friends and
slandering
essentially
him, and that's what he's trying to make sure that this isn't going forward like
exactly. And if you'll have to pursue legal action, because if you slander someone,
I mean, what I wonder is, what did the friend tell her parents that has them on this crusade? Was she telling them something questionable? Because I feel like, as a rational person, if I had heard that one of our son's friends dropped them off at the house after a night of clubbing, I'd be appreciative and say thank you so much for getting him home safely. But I wouldn't go on a crusade going, wait a second, there's something nefarious that happened here.
I don't think her friend said anything wrong. And the only reason why I don't feel that way is because that would have been mentioned anywhere, especially in his comments where he would have said, you know, Kira told them something.
How would he would have known what she said, right? Because he never says, I spoke with the friend after all of this went down.
But it would have been accusations of him speaking to the parents. And the parents said, you being alone in that car with her is predatorial-like. That was the only accusation that he heard from them.
Okay.
Not like Kira said something happened here.
Okay, I can see it from
so
that.
Since they never said anything.
So what you're saying, they're being irate because of what it looks like.
Oh, yes. And then they're trying to essentially
assume what he was trying to do.
Which was nothing.
That's
it
ridiculous.
Was in their head. And the only reason why it was in their head was because for them, all that they see is it was an older gentleman in a car with a younger woman that was intoxicated and he was taking her home. That's it.
Well, OP, I'm sorry you were having to go through this. You're a good dad. Keep looking out for your daughter.
Well, let's go ahead and leave this situation behind us and see what's happening with the hijacked wedding. For our next story, am I the a-hole for wearing my wedding ring to my sister's wedding against her wishes and hijacking her night? My sister, 29 female, got married last Saturday. The ceremony was beautiful, and I enjoyed myself as much as someone who is famously not a wedding guy could. The dramatics were not quite as enjoyable. I, 27 male, hadn't seen my family in a few months, and we've only had a handful of phone calls over the course of these months. It's never on purpose that I pull one of these disappearing acts. It's mostly out of habit. I've been fiercely independent for most of my life, and I get easily caught up in whatever I'm doing at the time that makes it hard for me to remember to keep those not in my direct line of sight in the loop. My mother is the same way. It's also nice visiting around times when big events like this are going on, as my mom is prone to hovering whenever I'm home, and this takes some of the spotlight off me. I had been in Ireland around 8 months prior to flying in last Thursday. I was originally there to spend 2 weeks with my best friend who, thanks to the aforementioned one-track mindedness I possess, I had unfortunately grown apart from within recent years. Ours was a friendship that had started since we were 14 and was one of the most important relationships in my life for over a decade, and I wanted to put more effort into it so I didn't lose it. He was spending time overseas as to reconnect with his heritage since his father's passing. I was already traveling, and my stay obviously turned out to be a lot longer than 2 weeks. It also turned into us getting married. Funny how life works out. About 2 weeks before our trip to the States for my sister's wedding, I sent out a mass email to close family letting them know that me and my husband were married. I wanted to assuage any possibility of us stealing any thunder right from the get-go. My mom replied that she was hurt that she wasn't told sooner and allowed to be there, which I understood. It seemed her mood flipped by the time we met in person, however. Rehearsal dinner was on Friday, and that was where we all met up for the first time. My mom was overjoyed to see me and my partner and spent a large part of the night telling stories about how she had always predicted there was something different about my friendship with him compared to the others I was close with in high school. It was a very sweet moment, but at the end of the night, my sister pulled me aside and asked if we would not wear our wedding rings to her ceremony. I was confused, so I asked why. She said I was taking the attention off her and she was already bitter that I hijacked her rehearsal dinner. More family might take notice if I wore my ring tomorrow and cause a similar incident. I refused. Like I mentioned before, the ceremony was beautiful, but she didn't speak to me for the rest of the weekend and we ended up leaving the reception early. Am I the a-hole?
Okay. What a journey we're about to go on that ends in a wedding and people being upset.
Oh, weddings.
Yeah. So he says it. He's one of those type of people that is out of sight, out of mind. A lot of people suffer from that. Unfortunately, it sounds like his is to a little bit more of a degree than most, to the point where things kind of do get lost in the shuffle. Doesn't keep up with family or friends. He's just in the moment. I can't blame him for that. Everyone lives differently. So he takes sounds like a pretty cool trip to Ireland. We've never been. One day we will.
One day.
But he takes a trip to Ireland to go see a friend that he met when he was 14, and he wanted to rekindle their relationship. You know, it sounds like there was a falling out that was about to happen, but this was a very important friendship for him for a long time. He said a decade plus. He gets to Ireland. Turns out they have a good time, and he extends the stay, and then they end up getting married. Life happened. That's fantastic. Good for them. They don't tell, I guess, his side of the family any of this information. I mean, I guess I'll say it like this. It's not your responsibility to do that if you didn't want to. Now, he gets an invitation to his older sister's wedding. He goes ahead and let everyone understand that he is now married because he doesn't want to take said thunder away from anyone at the wedding. So he at least did that part for them. My heart is telling me that I don't think he was trying to. I think he was genuinely trying to not be the center of attention. I don't like that the sister asked them to take off the rings. I think that's a little petty. Why would that matter? And if someone did that to me and requested that I take off my ring while I'm attending something, I don't think I would accept that. I agree with the OP there. If that's what you think is taking attention from you on your day, you're clearly not thinking about your wedding day the way you should be. Stop worrying about what other people are doing and thinking on your wedding day. Your wedding day is about you and your future spouse. That's it. Whether or not they pay attention to you the way you think they shouldn't matter. You're making that day about other things that aren't just the love you and your future partner are about to share together. But I also can understand people can feel a certain way. I feel like everyone probably is a bit of the a-hole in this situation.
So let me let you know what a lot of the back and forth here is. Now, the consensus is pretty split.
Okay.
Some people say that he is the a-hole. Some people say that he is not the a-hole. The moderators rated this as he is the a-hole. I side with how you see it. I think everyone sucks here. Now, let me give you both sides of the perspective on why people think
I'm very
this.
interested to hear this.
So for the not the a-hole part, people are like, this is very, yes, petty that the sister would want somebody to take off their wedding rings.
Yeah.
That's very disrespectful. If that was the case, then you shouldn't have even invited him or rescinded your invite for the wedding. That might have seemed petty too, but at least in that case, whatever it is that you're feeling is done and over with, and he's not in the middle of it anymore. Now, you have another flip of the coin where they say the poster definitely is the a-hole here. Some people say the request that she had was very small, especially considering that you even admitted that, yeah, you kind of did steal the thunder during rehearsal and people were talking about you the whole time. Now, here comes the other part that's sort of the underlying of what a lot of people who rated him as the a-hole put out. First, the poster labels themselves as fiercely independent. And a lot of people say that is not a positive trait. That's a very bad trait for you to have. And the fact that it's almost like you're saying what I think, what I do is the most important thing. Okay. It's a very selfish thing when you put yourself as being fiercely independent. That means you've been told that you're not considerate to other people. And on top of that, you're like, well, I've had to defend that for myself.
Okay. I can understand that from that viewpoint. That's interesting.
So being told this feedback and then on top of that, trying to put it as almost like a label of pride for yourself shows that you're very self-centered in everything that you do.
Okay. So that's just like how when people say, I'm brutally honest.
Correct.
That's this situation.
That is exactly this thing.
That's a good way to look at that.
You can be an honest person and say, hey, I'm very honest and open. And these are my viewpoints, right? But when you say that you're brutally honest, that means you know whatever you're going to say is just going to end up hurting that person, but you don't care.
And you've had to defend how you act to people.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is that same exact feeling that a lot of people had. You march to the beat of your own drum and you don't care that other people don't like that tune, even though you know it could be inconsiderate to them.
Okay.
Now, there are a lot of people that said, look, I'm much of how you say you are, right? I'm pretty forgetful. I kind of live in that moment. It takes me just a little bit to realize I need to reach out to family or friends and to let them know that, hey, I still love and care for them and I'm thinking about them. But he has been married for 4 months. He actually put that down in the comments.
Okay.
He's married for 4 months and you decide to tell everybody in your family that you got married for 4 months, 2 weeks before the wedding.
Yeah.
So here's the other drop of the shoe. Our poster in his comments actually put down that he didn't tell everybody in the family that he's married. He's only told a select few family members that he's married. So if the whole family is attending this wedding.
Okay, so maybe that's where the sister was coming at it from. Hey, look, if you just take off the rings, no one has questions.
Correct. And then you can tell them after we get married.
Man, yeah, I still can't feel like that's an okay thing to ask someone to do.
And neither do I, which is why I think this whole situation
Everyone's a little bit
it just sucks here.
Okay.
There's no clear cut. I mean, if you're talking about whether he should have been more aware of what he was essentially doing. Even if you're forgetful, you could have sat down with your partner and been like, let's send an email to all of our family letting them know we just got married at this point 4 months ago.
I wonder why the avoidance has happened then. You know what I mean? Then you're starting to ask other questions. What's happening in our OP's life that has him going so far out of the way to not let anyone know? You wouldn't tell your sister or your mother 4 months into a marriage that you got married? You're right. You would have sent at least an email out, a text. Like,
there would have
you're
been
so
pictures
busy
or something.
You're so busy that you can't text someone, but I can understand it though. Being lost in your life and like focused in the way he says it, right? He sounds like he tunnel visions.
He actually admits that he's diagnosed with ADHD.
Okay, see, but then we're getting into a whole thing. How much of it really is his fault? But I also understand
a lot of commenters come down saying that they have
it too, but they're not to this type of extent. You're just being careless.
Correct. And then on top of that, you have other. I've even seen his comments saying a lot of people are taking the context of how my family is because we're different. Every family's different.
Yes.
That's a very silly thing to say.
Every family is different and nuanced in their own little way.
Especially when you start hearing it through AITA stories.
Sure.
Every family has a different dynamic.
That's why you
to
can't
with.
Pick up and put one situation on the other.
In my mind, I keep coming back to, if you're trying to find a reason in posting AITA to find an excuse not to be held accountable because you think
you were right.
Right. That's not the case.
Yeah.
I mean, in this case, I think this is one of the reasons why potentially it was moderated to they're the a-hole.
Because they were defending the point and not seeing it from the other side.
Exactly. And they do say that they tried to apologize and make it better, but I don't think that there was ever given enough time. I mean, you're literally talking about a dinner rehearsal and then a marriage not too shortly after that. I don't think there would have ever been enough time to really make the proper accommodations for this.
There's a lot of dynamics swimming in that pool, so it is very interesting to hear it from all the angles, though.
Well, let's go ahead and walk away from this wedding and let's see what's happening at a workplace restroom.
Uh-oh.
For our next story. Am I the a-hole for embarrassing a guy with a shy bladder at work?
I'm looking forward to this story.
The men's room where I work has a wall full of urinals and 4 stalls. There is one guy who apparently cannot use a urinal. However, he must have a fire hose and a sore back because he never lifts the seat when he urinates and he pisses all over the toilet. Like, not just a little sprinkle either. He gets it on the seat, the tank, the floor. I'm surprised he doesn't hit the walls. I'm overweight myself and I have trouble using the urinal sometimes, so I tend to use a stall, but I sit to take care of number 1 as well as number 2. Anyways, I put up a sign in the stalls that I remembered from my grandparents' home. If you sprinkle when you tinkle, be a sweetie and wipe the seedy.
That's cute.
He took this as a personal attack. He ripped them all down and came into the break room and was yelling about having a shy bladder and that he doesn't have to use a urinal and a bunch of other stuff. The thing is, none of us knew for sure it was him that did it. I didn't target him or anything. I talked privately to him and told him that the signs were for everyone and that he just outed himself. He called me an a-hole for making him embarrass himself and that he was going to HR. I was just trying to politely ask everyone to clean up after themselves. Am I the a-hole? To provide some clarity, some commenters actually put down, if there's only a couple men that work in this place, yeah, of course you're outing him. But the poster actually put down that there's over 30 men that work here.
Okay. That's quite a significant amount more than just a couple.
Correct.
This is a doozy of a story. Let's go on a journey. So it's a funny sign that he puts up.
So what I'm guessing happened is, let's say you see him come out of a stall.
He goes in
and then you go in and you're like, oh my gosh.
It's just bathed. The walls, the floor, it's everywhere.
There's only 4 stalls. So depending on if those 30 men are coming in and out, if you know, you're like.
I just know when people talk about bathroom and how that etiquette works out, it's very much like a don't talk about each other stuff. But we are in a public bathroom. That is a public space that other people do use. That's unsanitary. I mean, he says it's caked all over everything. I can just hear the stickiness. If you've ever been into a truck stop anywhere in America, I don't know how it works in the other parts of the world, but go to a truck stop in America. I don't know how it is in the women's bathroom, but for the men's, it's a nightmare. It's so bad.
It's like somebody dropped like soda on the floor and then let it dry.
You can hear the stickiness of the shoe.
Oh no, that's so freaking gross.
But you just got to do what you got to do and then you go. But that sounds like what this gentleman is doing to their bathroom on a daily basis. I think it's interesting that he took it upon himself to print out what his grandmother would say and then, I guess, stick it into every stall. Is that what he said?
Yes.
Okay. That's kind of like when people in break rooms make sure you clean up after yourself when you use the microwave and you stick it on there. Yeah. Same deal with refrigerators and workspaces. Don't leave food over the weekend. You know, you get these signs, but you should never look at that as being an attack on you. It's more like someone's just telling you to like clean up after yourself or be polite, have some etiquette without having to out you.
But this guy ousted himself.
He came into the break room and was like, how dare you?
I have a shy bladder. That's not shy. That's the problem.
Why would you do that to yourself? I gotta say, I don't think that the OP is the a-hole. I don't know if there's any other way except for you going to HR and letting them know, hey, so-and-so I think is having a problem, or this is what's going on and it's making the facilities unusable because it's not sanitary. That probably would have been a better way of going about things.
I don't know about that. If anything, the sign was harmless and he really did oust himself. If anything, it would just be, for me, making a stand with HR if they try and put anything accusatory.
They go any further than that.
Well, the consensus is that he's not the a-hole. The only thing that people did say is, you're right, he should have gone to HR and HR should have been the one to put the signs up. That's about it. However, everybody wants to know what happens. We haven't seen an update.
There's no update?
No.
Yeah, he took me to HR.
There was only the one comment where he said there's 30 or so plus men that work.
Okay.
Sad days. Well, let's go ahead and walk away from these urinals. And let's go on to our next story regarding graduations. Am I the a-hole for not attending my graduation party and telling everyone why when they asked? My family has not celebrated anything to do with me since I was 12 years old. My dad and his new wife had a baby that year, and I was kind of forgotten about. I would get birthday presents and such, but no party or anything. I got used to it and started a tradition of celebrating with my friends. We would go see movies or whatever. One of my friend's mom found out and started making me a cake every year for my birthday. When I graduated from high school, I had saved up enough money to go on a week-long vacation in New York City with my best friend and her mom to see Hadestown. I just finished university and I am starting my new job right away. I guess my dad had planned a big party for me as a surprise, but I didn't show up because I went out with my friends instead. When my family asked me why I didn't show up after my dad had gone through all the effort for me, I explained that he hadn't celebrated anything of mine in 10 years and I didn't know he had planned to do so this time. He told everyone I was lying, so I asked him to post any pictures he had from my birthday parties, extracurricular activities, or high school graduation. He obviously couldn't, and everyone started shitting on him. Now he is mad for talking about private family matters. I am just going to go over there and pick up the few things I have left in that house and just move to my new city without dealing with this anymore. Am I the a-hole?
Nope. This is a good story. No, you taught your dad a good lesson. You don't no-show for a bunch of stuff in your life. Just because they're there in the house with you does not mean that they're a good parent. By you just doing the bare minimum for that child, like making sure that they're fed and there's somewhere to sleep, that you are automatically this amazing, great parent. In this case, you're getting to see that that is not how it works. You weren't there for anything. OP even asks you, when you call him out and tell him he's a liar, and OP challenges him, says, show me any picture from anything. And he couldn't come up with anything. It shows you enough about what that relationship entailed. He says it. He got a new sibling when he was 12. And then from that point on, it was him left to his own devices when it came to any type of celebration. Which sucks because I'm sure he got to see his other sibling be doted upon is what it sounded like. Yeah, this one just feels good because it's a just desserts. You are a crappy parent and the one time you want to... It's almost like the OP's parent only did this to like muster up some last minute, I'm the reason why you're getting through college type situation. Like, I'm only going to celebrate this because technically it's almost a celebration of me too. You're graduating, so it's a reflection upon me being a good parent by you graduating. So I'm going to put forth this effort because it also makes me look good. But that's the way I feel about it, is he just wanted to come in at the very tail end, take credit for you graduating and it being a good reflection upon you, because that's what we do in society. When a child graduates from college, unless they're the outspoken ones that go, I did this on my own, my parents didn't help me at all, I grinded to the top. Most of the time, people go ahead and wrongly assume that the parents are why the kid got through college. Like, it's a whole thing. So I could see where he's trying to get at the very end, going, look, my kid's here for this reason. And the best part is you didn't get the chance to take those photos and be a part of that memory. And then you have the balls to sit there and go, why didn't you come? I put forth all this effort. Okay, well, guess what? The last, 12 years of effort putting forth got you. The OP slam dunked on you, and I appreciate that. I'm sure a lot of people that heard this story all felt amazingly great and vindicated for them doing that. Because, yeah, you're definitely not the a-hole, OP.
Well, the consensus is not the a-hole. In fact, you hit on one of the points that a lot of commenters put in there, which was, I bet you the father's doing it just to get pats for your own achievements.
That's kind of what I was feeling.
Now, there were some commenters that wondered about where his original mother was. And our poster actually put down that his mother unfortunately passed away and that the father moved both of them out of state. So they were nowhere near family, which is why their family wasn't aware that the father had dropped the ball this badly.
They are now.
Oh, very much. He did say his father did ask him if he was going to be home for dinner that night. And the OP said, yeah, I'll be home unless something else comes up and my friends and I have plans. He said his friends and him had plans. He didn't even realize the surprise party was happening. And then this had us go on to commenters that said, if you're doing a surprise party, it is your job to make sure that the person gets there. So the thing that for me rubs me the wrong way and kind of shows the personality of the father is when he tells our poster that he was talking about private family matters.
Yeah. People that normally kind of do that
are not good people.
No, they're not.
Not even a little.
Don't spill the beans.
Yep.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And in my mind, the moment that I heard that, I was like, okay, now I know what kind of person your father is. You are the kind of kid he wanted you to just be quiet and not, don't rock the boat.
Seen, don't be heard.
Yeah, seen, not heard. And for me, that just struck me all wrong.
It sounds like Reddit gave our OP a high five for everyone. Good for you, man, for not caring about any of that stuff and making the traditions with your friends. And that's good that you have at least had that support system behind you, because not a lot of people get that either. So good for you.
Oh, yes. To have their friend's mom actually make cake every year, that's great.
That's another family he's gotten to build.
Oh, yeah, hands down. Well, let's go on to our last story, and I look forward to hearing what you think about this one. Am I the a-hole for saying I'll be driving myself and paying for my own room on the upcoming family vacation so I won't have to be a babysitter? I, 23 male, was repeatedly stuck playing the part of helper and babysitter on family outings. I had to move out of my parents' house because I kept being forced to help watch my 3 nephews. Last year, we took a family vacation in summer to the coast. I rode along with my parents and they paid for my hotel room. Only I had to share that room with 3 rowdy boys because my sister and her husband wanted a room to themselves. I was promised time to do my own things on the vacation, but instead I ended up having to help with these kids. I complained to everyone about it and was reminded I was there for free. And then we pretty much just did only one thing I wanted to do, which was tour an art gallery. I like doing this whenever I'm at the coast, but the kids find it boring. This year, my parents have a beach trip planned for June, and they assumed I'd be riding along the same way as last year, but I refused. I said I'd be driving myself and paying for my own hotel stay to have my own room. My parents were shocked and tried to remind me of the cost. I said it was no worry. I've got a good job and a decent running car. I can more than afford it. That's when the buts started. I stated the previously listed things as why I'll be driving myself and paying for myself. I want to be able to enjoy this vacation as an adult and not be treated like a child like last year. My parents told my sister, and she called to blow up at me that I'll be ruining the vacation if I'm off doing my own thing while she has to wrangle her 3 boys. I ended up yelling at her that last year all she did was rope me into her mess. I didn't really get to do much of anything I wanted to do, and I was treated like the bad guy for wanting to just go to the art gallery. I'm a grown man. I deserve my own vacation too. Now my sister is not speaking to me, and my parents are still trying to convince me to just ride with them to keep the peace. I'm still refusing, but the pressure is getting to me. Am I the a-hole for not giving in? I know they'll have a pretty hard time when they won't have another person there to help.
I love these type of stories because you can see the growth in people. You have OP, who's just kind of been taking it on the chin for a minute for these family vacations that he's been a part of under the guise of, we're paying for everything. He's 23 now, ROP. He's got a good job, apparently. He saves his money, so he can afford to do the trip the way he wants to. You're seeing now that the boy has become the man. These are great moments. Honestly, it tickles me. It's like watching nature channels. You see that the baby take that first step out of the nest and they fly or they fall, right? It's that moment in time where they evolve in front of your eyes. That's fantastic. That's what this OP is doing. He's no longer a part of the status quo. I'm a child. I'm going to be in this car taking care of these kids because I'm here for free. I am a man now. I have my own car. I have my own job. I'm going to be sleeping in my own hotel room. I still want to accompany you because you're my family. I still want to have these vacations with you. He might want to start looking and re-evaluating what family means now that you're a man and you can make your own choices, because that doesn't sound like much of a family to me if they're all keeping the peace. And one of the stories we saw, rock the boat. This sounds like that type of situation. The sister in this situation sounds like a horrible person. You have 3 kids. You made those decisions to have 3 kids. It shouldn't be wrangling at that point. You should know that that's what you've accepted when you had those kids, that is your responsibility no matter where you go. And to expect someone on a vacation, that is for everyone, not just for you being the selfish sister. To watch your children for free? No. That's ridiculous. Get out of here. It's amazing to see when people take that next step and their families get left in the dust because they treated them so poorly that they were just like, this is the status quo. Obviously, this is how we're always going to treat you. I love when those kids get to step beyond that threshold. OP, you're definitely not the a-hole. Do not let these people shepherd you back into believing that you're still a child.
Well, the consensus is that he's not the a-hole. And we have some edits and updates.
Oh.
So let me go ahead and let you in on this juicy treat.
Yes, please.
For our first edit, he said, "It's barely been an hour since I posted, but my sister is apparently a Reddit lurker in the mornings, and she saw my post.
Good.
Not only is she furious with me, but she's also upset no one in the comments is siding with her. To make it short, she went on a big rant about how it's so hard to be a parent to triplets. And the least I could do is help because I'm young and single and she needs a break. I stood my ground on my decision, and now she's calling our parents to get them involved. I'm expecting a call from them any minute."
Attaboy. Keep it up.
Update.
Yes.
Well, I'm off work now, so I can tell more of what went down. I guess you could say it's over. My sister got our parents involved. They looked at my post and were absolutely horrified by the continuous influx of commenters. Yes, they're very angry with me that I posted here, but I told them that if they just listened to me to begin with, I'd have never needed to. I'm sick of the whole keep the peace mentality that sacrifices me to placate my sister. They, in turn, went off on my sister, and to make a long story short, the whole vacation has been canceled. The hotel wasn't booked yet anyway, but my parents are arguing with my sister is blaming me, and my nephews are crying because they aren't going to the beach. My sister called me at lunch and basically implied I have no life, which is why I have time to help. I recorded that and told our parents, and that's currently what they're fighting about. Small update. I wasn't gonna update again, but here's a little more. Parents said that they won't ever push babysitting of my nephews on me again and have agreed that what happened last year was unfair to me. Right now, they're very angry with my sister for telling me I should help her because she thinks I have no life. My sister is playing the victim, and my brother-in-law is basically saying, nope, to the whole mess and spending most of his time at work. Thank you to everyone who has commented. You made my day.
Good stuff. That is fantastic. Your sister needs to grow up. And it sounds like your parents are really cool too, because at least they were able to see it and start correcting it. Was that the last one?
That was the last story.
Right. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
As always, listeners, we look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments below. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.